Advance the colors.
Post color. Present arms. Order arms. Left turn. Forward. March.
Joe Crook and Elise in prayer.
Loving God, as we gather here today, our hearts are full of memories of friends and comrades who served under our arms during our country's wars and conflicts. We come here today to remember those who fell in battle and those who, while they did not die, offered their bodies, minds, hearts, and energies to fighting and serving for a just cause. We ask that you would grace us with your presence, that you would help us find healing. Hear our prayers, O Lord, and have regard for our thoughts during this day. Thank you, Father, for giving us victory so that we may worship you in our own way. Please bless us and bless those who gave their best for our country. We ask this in the name of the Creator, the Savior, and the Sustainer. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
You may be seated. Can everybody hear me all right? Yeah, you know. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming out today. I know the weather's pretty crappy outside. Who would have guessed? So today we'll do things a little different. You're stuck with me for your speaker. I'm sorry. I'll apologize now. But I want to show a couple videos first to kind of get us kicked off, and then I'll lead into our my speech for today.
Of the Vietnam War, the Medal of Honor has been awarded 9 times for conspicuous gallantry in an ongoing or recent conflict. And sadly, our nation has been unable to present this decoration to the recipients themselves because each gave his life, his last full measure of devotion for our country. Now, I'm going to go off script here for a second and just say, I really like this guy.
It's difficult for me to accept because what people continually congratulate me on and thank me for is something I didn't do alone. And I continually receive these congratulations and thanks and awards, and it's difficult for me to accept knowing that I've never done anything alone, and yet I tend to be the only one standing there.
If I'm a hero, Sal has said, then every man who stands around me, every woman in the military, every person who defends this country is. And he's right. This medal today is a testament to his uncommon valor, but also to the parents and the community that raised him, the military that trained him, and all the men and women who served by his side.
Specialist juntas, unwavering courage, selflessness, and decisive leadership while under extreme enemy fire were integral to his platoon's ability to defeat an enemy ambush and recover a fellow American soldier from the enemy.
So often people say, hey, you're a hero. You think if I'm a hero because of this? Well, let me point you to a whole group of people doing the same exact thing. Look at all these people, these men and women in uniform, not just Army, not just Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, National Guard, Reserve. These are people that make these sacrifices of year trips, 6-month trips, 15-month trips, not to a vacation destination, but to a place that is very much a country at war for us. I mean, that's pretty heroic. I know exactly what I was thinking about. I'm watching, my family's in the front row. I had all my Army buddies that I deployed with that were there with me that night. The families of Joshua Brennan and Hugo Mendoza were all there. And accepting this award not for myself but for all of us, for the families involved, all families that have had to sacrifice, not just the men and women that go to war, but their families that they leave behind, the ones that never return.
I'm proud of him both as an Italian-American, but I'm proud of him as a soldier and what he represents not only to all the Italian community, but also to the military. His selflessness, his dedication, and frankly, he's an incredibly humble young man. And he's a picture of what we expect of our young men, and he's a great example of this great generation of young people we have today.
Yeah, we all just get a sense of people and who they are. And when you meet Sal and you meet his family, you are just absolutely convinced that this is what America's all about. And it just makes you proud.
There is a custom I learned as a 17-year-old at West Point. Regardless of rank, you salute the Medal of Honor winner, Sergeant Johnson.
Before all this happened, I was in charge of myself. I represented myself, my family name, you know, that sort of thing. And now, just in the last 6 months after receiving the medal, I mean, I represent people I know for a fact are smarter than me, faster than me, stronger than me, braver than me, more willing to do things that I'm not. And I have to represent these people that are better. So, I mean, that definitely puts a stress on you. I'm not being hard on myself. That's it. I can only tell you how I feel and the truth, and that's how I feel, and that's the truth from where I see it. I'm one of many. Although this is so positive, I would give this back in a second to have my friends with me right now. And there's so many others, other than Sergeant Brennan and Specialist Mendoza, that are the unsung heroes of this war and will never come back and return a handshake or give a hug or see their family again, and we have to take the time to remember them. Because that is the quality of American soldiers we have, willing to go to war, fight, and do whatever is necessary until the battle's done.
I remember in high school, I watched Black Hawk Down. I wanted to avenge that, and I wanted to serve so bad, but it was just like, no, you're gonna go to dental school. Every one of my brothers has like either multiple master's degrees or like PhDs. I had two brothers who went to seminary. The Army gave me purpose and direction and meaning, and I'm a much better person for serving. November 10th was my 29th birthday, and you know, I just remember thinking, I would, as a kid, I would walk through a cemetery and I would see people born and died on their same day on their tombstone, and I just thought, man, that's got to just be the worst, you know. I was just, get me to midnight, And so we got a report that there were, 6 to 8, possibly 10 bad guys in a little neighborhood block. Now, what complicates it is our friends in PSYOPs, they start showing up with these enormous speakers, and they start playing the Team America theme. So now I'm like, dude, this is the soundtrack to my death. And so we're clearing all these different buildings out, and nothing. We finally end up in the last house, and that's when it all went down. I'm on one side of the house, the other guys are on the other side. These guys are shooting belt-fed machine guns through a door. And as soon as I get in that door frame, I'm looking at these guys, they're not intimidated at all. Whatever thought process I had, that was pretty much gone. That's the weird thing about that close quarter proximity. You're super confident. I'm Thor, I can do all of this, America. And then you slip and fall and almost get your head blown off. And you're like, what am I thinking? I'm an idiot. This was a horrible idea. And in that one moment, I'm like, I just need a cigarette. I figured me and Lawson could at least ding them up, and then the next wave of Americans could finish them off. I didn't know any of this was going to be where we are today. Had I known all of that, I probably would have made a different decision. The first thing I learned right off the bat is that no civilian wants to know when you're going to the bathroom, right? Because I'm accustomed to being like, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go take a leak. When I wore the veteran thing on my sleeve, I found that I was a bigger spectacle. And so I just decided to just compartmentalize that, let it go, move on with your life. Tell them, oh yeah, I serve too. We want to be teachers, and we want to be coaches, and we want to, lead at home the way we did in battle. When I find out someone's a vet, it's like a Christian in the catacomb, a little wink. You do the secret handshake, and that resume goes right to the top. My soldiers were the greatest men I've ever met in my life. They still are. And what we did together, we weren't SEALs, we weren't Green Berets, recon. We were just knuckle dragging mouth breathers. That's what we were. Just average soldiers doing above average things because we found ourselves in those situations. And the enemy, is someone that we respect as well. They're out there hooking and jabbing. It doesn't mean we're going to stop fighting them, but it's not a 3-act structure where good guys versus bad guys and we're fighting insects. This generation is going to get tested like we got tested, and they're going to answer their call, and America is going to keep humming along, and the rest of the world is going to look at us and say, oh my God, thank God America's still around. It doesn't matter who we elect president, who we put on the federal bench. As long as recruiting stations are open, we're going to be A-okay.
Pretty remarkable stories of modern day veterans and heroes we have, just like we have amongst us today. I promise my speech won't be long. It's only about 30 pages, so just bear with me. Today's speech is coming from the National Commander of the American Legion, and I'm just here to spread his word. So, horrible, ghastly, and ghoulish. These are some of the adjectives Medal of Honor recipient David Bellateva used to describe the battlefield that he saw in Iraq. But even so, the U.S. Army Staff Sergeant said it was also a place where he saw love. I quote, "You see people doing these things for each other that they would never ever do in any other circumstance. It's an insight to see," unquote. It was during the height of the Iraq War in the Second Battle of Fallujah where Staff Sergeant Bellateva distinguished himself by rescuing an infantry squad that was pinned down by machine gun fire while the soldiers went house to house to clear the city of insurgent strongholds. Bellatave's actions during the pre-dawn mission on November 10th of 2004 made former non-commissioned officer the Iraq War's first living recipient of the military's highest award of valor. He put himself in that position, what sets him apart, according to retired Sergeant First Class Colin Fitz, Fitz credits Bellavay's actions with saving the lives of 3rd Platoon Alpha Company that day. While Staff Sergeant Bellavay's valor is exceptional even amongst extraordinary, his mindset is common within the men and women who serve our great nation. His heroism is one of the stories of millions of living veterans. By virtue of your attendance today, it's clear that you hold the nation's hero's highest esteem. But how many of you know their story? Like the story of Army Private First Class Monica Lynn Brown. PFC Brown was a combat medic assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division, where she was deployed to Partika Providence in Afghanistan. On April 25th of 2007, a roadside bomb tore through her convoy, wounding 5 soldiers. After the explosion, 19-year-old Brown ran through the insurgent gunfire and used her body to shield the wounded comrades while mortars fell less than 100 yards away. Her citation reads, "The military said her bravery, unselfish actions, and medical aid rendered under fire saved the lives of her comrades and represents the finest traditions in heroism and combat. Her bravery and actions, and in the remote southeastern Afghan province, will lead her to become the first woman to earn the Silver Star in Afghanistan since the second woman did so in World War II. Again, the exceptional and the extraordinary. Camaraderie, warrior ethos, esprit de corps, all words we can use to describe what it means to be a veteran and to have served in our nation's military. In each other we find community, we find an American Legion post, we find VFW post, and in those units we find Facebook groups. We find it in a familiar decal in the rear window of a car passing by. We often see ourselves in each other. When the news got out that a Vietnam veteran had no living relatives to attend his funeral, the veteran community was there. Friends of Wayne Wilson had put the call out for people to come to his burial service in Silverbrook Cemetery in Niles, Michigan, and only expected a handful of people to attend. They underestimated the power of the veteran service organizations. 3,000 people showed up for his funeral that day to pay respects. Nobody figured that it would be as big as it was, said Sergeant at Arms of American Post 51, Richard Stewart. Every veteran has a right to a funeral like this. These are the stories, just 3 stories, from the millions out there to be told and heard. So before you leave here today, I have something to ask you. Find someone here, have them tell their story to you. Every single woman and man who have raised their right hand to pledge to give their life for the country, if needed, did so for a reason, and ask them why. These stories and memories of our powerful. They are one of our most powerful weapons in securing the future for those who follow us. As veterans, we are accurately aware of the sacrifices made by our service members. We're equally aware of the cost and sacrifices. We know the value and the lessons that our military service bestowed upon us. These are the things that we cannot afford to lose. American Legion National Commander Bill Oxford calls upon us to build a foundation for the future, sharing the stories of our heroes and their future contributions to our future. We were founded on the heels of World War I. The story arose from the ashes of the war to end all wars. Like the legend of Marine Sergeant Major Dan Daly at the Battle of Belleau Woods, or that of William Henry Johnson, an African-American soldier from World War I, who was at last long awarded the much-delayed Medal of Honor by President Barack Obama in 2015. For the past 100 years, American Legion has been dedicated to serving those who have served. The commitment to caring for America's veterans is one that transcends partisanship. It's a commitment that covers all races, all genders, and all faiths. The American Legion knows that service does not stop when the uniform comes off. We honor our nation's living veterans today. It is fitting to bring to mind the piece of wisdom of Staff Sergeant Bella, who said, quote, "All through our history, we have people that have dissented and that have disagreed, and we have found ways to put everything aside and focus on what's best for our nation. What's best for the mission success, unquote. So to those who before me, and those who I have the privilege to serve with, and to those who have followed, I thank you for your selfless service, as today we honor those who have worn the nation's uniforms. So that concludes my speech. My next part of this morning, I want to take about 15 minutes, and I want to have somebody from the audience come up. We want to hear your story. So if anybody wants to volunteer. All right, Bracken, I'm gonna call you out. Come on up, let's hear your story. Delbert. Come on up.
Stagger up there like I've been on a drunk. What am I gonna do?
Can everybody hear me? So this is Delbert Bracken. He's a over 60-year member of the American Legion.
Yes.
So today I want you to tell your story in service. Nobody's service for our country is no better than anybody else's. So we want to hear yours, because I don't think I've ever heard your story.
Probably just as well as you didn't. If I'd have known this, I wouldn't have come up here. Well, first of all, let me say this. I'm not a oratorical speaker, but if I stumble through something, well, you'll have to excuse it because of my age and what have you. And blame Darren. My service started way back in February of 1945, and they shoveled us off. First of all, I took my pre-induction physical in November of 1944, but they held us back because actually the Battle of the Bulge kind of changed things. So we didn't get inducted until January of 1945. From there, we went to Camp Robinson, Arkansas through 16 weeks of wartime infantry basic, which if you ladies weren't here, I would tell you what it's like. We lived in 6-man hutlets, and they had chicken ventilated windows on the side of the huts. It was really first class for somebody, I don't know. Except then when it got cold weather, we had to sleep in our long underwear and our blue jeans, not our blue jeans, our wool ones, wrapped up in a comforter. We didn't have sleeping bags. You don't want to hear all that. Good Lord, that's just part of the infantry. After we got out of there, finally the war was over with Japan in August of 1945, and our outfit, we were all packed to go. We were on a deployment deal. First, 4:30 in the afternoon, the supply sergeant come over and said, "Brackney, you and 5 others are staying." I said, "What are we doing?" He said, "You'll be transferred over here." He said, "Everybody's coming home from Germany, and we need some drill sergeants." And I thought, good God, what am I doing here? So anyway, we got transferred over to Company C, 130th Infantry Training Battalion, and I stayed there for over 6 months. After 6 months of going through and training some of the recruits, I appreciated what the platoon sergeant went through when he took me and my other buddies in. But we re-enlisted and got out of there and got transferred over to the infantry division, the 5th Infantry Division. I'll get it pretty soon. You can tell I'm not a great speaker, but my memory's a little bit short.
Better than mine.
So anyway, we stayed there. In April of 1946, I had a great honor to go. It was the first peacetime display of our armed forces in the United States. They moved the whole division up to Chicago, and we paraded on the streets of Chicago. I think it was on Michigan Boulevard. And I still brought some pictures home. You ladies will appreciate this. Some of the newspapers I brought back said that you could buy a dress for $2.98. I don't even think you can buy a handkerchief for that now. But after that, then we convoyed back to Camp Campbell, Kentucky, where we finished out, and then they disbanded the 5th Infantry Division and moved us into the 3rd Infantry Division, which was Patton's old blood and guts deal, who saved us, the world and everybody else, from the Battle of the Bulge. After that, I don't know, when I got over there, I started somewhere along the line. They thought I should be a squad leader of a 57 recoilless rifle outfit. Why, I don't know. I must have looked gullible enough or something. Finally, I got transferred out of that and became a communications sergeant. I told the company commander, I said, "Sir, if we have to go into combat, I'm going to renege on this communication." I said, that antenna sticking up over my head about 8 feet, I'd be the first one to get shot by a sniper. Thank God we didn't have to go into combat. Of course, that was in 1946, and the war was over. Finally, a little bit of humor. When I got discharged in November of 1946, the doctor examined me and he said, "Well, you're all right," but he said, "You've lost part of your hearing." He wanted to know what I did, and I told him, I said, "When I was platoon sergeant, you have to get down and look into recruits' eyes and make sure they don't blink. You know, it's like winking at a woman. You get into trouble doing that," and I did this too. He said, "You're entitled to a pension," and I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "How long will that take?" And he said, "Well, you'll have to probably stay in here another 3 or 4 days while we run some tests." I immediately took my hand out and I said, "Sign that thing, I'm going home. I've had enough." But basically, I will say this. It's a hell of a wonderful country, and I hope everybody appreciates it. I do. I've come back home like so many other guys. Fortunately, I only got wounded once by shrapnel on me when I was in training. But, you know, I'm not a hero. Most of the heroes are gone. There's still some left, but I'm not one of them. I just did what my country asked me to do, and truthfully, I'm damn proud of it. Some of the people out here that are on drugs and everything, I don't think they appreciate our country like I do. But I'm kind of a hard-headed Irishman, so. But outside of that, Darren, I don't know what to really know. I stayed in Oskaloosa and raised some family.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Delbert. That's the first time I've heard his story. That's the first time anybody else has heard his story. So these are stories that we need to capture, because these stories won't be here forever. Anybody else want to come up? Joe, well, I want to hear your story, because I know you were part of a significant battle in Vietnam. Anybody else? Don't everybody jump up at once. Ed? Well? No. Sure? Ed Plow's a Purple Heart winner from Vietnam. Come on up, let's hear your story, Ed. Don't be bashful. Appreciate that. There you go.
Personally, I don't talk about war, or how I got wounded or anything, but in '67, Joe Crookham's mother right here probably signed me up for the draft. And so I volunteered because I could take a buddy with me. So we went on the buddy plan. We went over there and served in Vietnam. I was in 1st Cav Division, infantry. I don't really know much to say. It was just kind of a hellhole over there, and I don't normally talk about it. So that's really my story.
What years did you serve in Vietnam, Ed?
I served in '68, '69. So I got in on the end of the counteroffensive. I don't really know much to say. I don't really like to talk about the war, but they did earn a Purple Heart. So I was in the wrong place at the right time. That's about all I have to say about it. I don't know what else to say.
Thanks. We appreciate it. And I know there's more stories out there, but I encourage everybody today to, oh, you want to talk, Joe?
No.
He always
So,
wants to talk.
Chilcote, have him come up and tell about
What?
the, come on.
I'm not sure his stories are probably safer than yours. But if I want to come up, we'll gladly listen.
Oh, well, I don't know.
You gotta
All right, come on, Lyle.
get the Navy's perspective. I've got 4 coming over there.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, me and a buddy thought it'd be a neat idea to join the Navy because they had the heavy duty draft going on back when I got out of high school, so we thought that'd be a fun deal. And we spent our first trip on an airplane going to San Diego, and then everybody started screaming at you as soon as you got off the plane and thought, what kind of deal did we get into here? And the boot camp lasted about 12 weeks or whatever. We graduated in August of '67 and come home for Christmas. And I went on to school up the Great Lakes, and he went on to school back in San Diego. And right before Christmas of '68, he got graduated from school there, and then went on to got our orders for the ship. And I thought, I got mine at the USS Kitty Hawk. I thought, wow, I've actually heard of that one. He thought that might be a fun little deal. So I flew to California and got on a plane there and Travis Air Force Base and went to Alaska and blah, 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 and all clear around, halfway around the world, and waited there a couple of days and got us up real early one morning and said, well, it's time to go, boys. So we got on a little plane, took off in the middle of the night, landed on the flight deck of that dang thing out there in the middle of the ocean, looked like a postage stamp. So, here I was, a young dumb farm kid, 19 years old, out there in the middle of nowhere, thinking, well, we're having some fun here now, are we? What kind of a deal did I get into? And then that was in January of '68, just like Ed said, I think I got the part of that Tet Offensive deal out there too. I didn't know it at the time, but I guess that's what it was. And then we made a few ports of call here and there, and I think Joe could relate to a few of them. We've been in a few of the places.
Survived along the boat, right?
Yeah, that place there. That was quite an event there to share with some of the guys, not necessarily everybody in this room, but we have our little stories. We was in and out of there several times and got our formal education there, I guess you might say. So I did my little thing on the ship there for 3 years and 4 months was out there, and then my name come up on board one day and said time to go, so I jumped on a plane, got launched off of it out of sea too. That was in May of '71, I guess it was, early part of May. And I come home and here we are, back where I was growing up at, and been here ever since. And I guess all I can say is I'm glad I did it. and got the experience anyway, and got my formal education. So,
In more ways than one, too.
yeah, that's for sure. yeah, for sure. And God bless the USA.
Thank you, Lyle. I think that's the first time I've heard Lyle talk that long at one time. Usually Joe did all the talking. Anybody else want to tell the story? Don't be shy. How about Julie? Why don't you come up? It'd be nice to get a female's perspective as a veteran as well. I know we have more than one female veteran out here. I do know me and Julie served about the same time.
Morning. So I served in Desert Storm. I joined the reserves and decided to go active duty. So that was in '89, and then '90 I went active duty. I went to Fort Stewart, Georgia. So I was with the 24th Infantry Division. And I got there July 25th. So Iraq invaded Kuwait on August 2nd. So we were put on alert like a week after I got there. And I was thinking, like everybody's talking about, what did I do? I should have went to college. It was very eye-opening and very scary. So anyway, we did a lot of training for a while because we were going into a different type of war than what had previously been done. So we're going to be doing desert warfare as opposed to jungle. And so we did a lot of training in the heat, and we also did a lot of training for chemical warfare. So, excuse me. By August 29th, we landed in Saudi Arabia, and that was just surreal. As a 19-year-old, I think I was 18 actually, maybe 19. I don't remember now. I'm that old, but anyway, it was just surreal to be in that situation. I had family members that were veterans, and just never imagined myself being in that. So anyway, I deployed with many women. I was a personnel records specialist, so I had both men and women in my unit, and a lot of those women were dual military families. So their husbands also deployed. So you had the mom and the dad both over serving their country. And their children were left in the care of their grandparents or whatever family arrangements they had made. And that was just an interesting dynamic for this new type of deployment, because I think Desert Storm was probably the largest deployment of females, up to that date. So, I mean, we all have different experiences in what transpired in our deployment. I often tell people that, was I scared? Of course I was scared. And I think as a woman, it's easier for me to say that because they expect women to show their emotional side of it. And they don't expect men to show that. You're tough, you're not supposed to cry, or you're not supposed to be scared. And I think in truth, everybody who is deployed in a situation like that is. And I tip my hat to anybody that is willing to stand up and serve their country, whether they get deployed or not. But if you are deployed, I especially tip my hat to you because you've answered a call that not everybody does or is built to do. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you did.
Thank you, Julie. All right, anybody else want to talk about their service? Well, I know there's a lot more out there. Don't make me come pick you out. All right, Green, you're up. Come on up, Joe.
Have Rick and Dad tell about his airport.
Look at him ducking over there.
Mr. Pitts, you want?
Tom's ducking.
Come on up, Mr. Pitts. Come on up. Don't be bashful. I can't be the only one that this season. Thank you.
Well, never really talked to him much about it. Got drafted in 70. Went to Fort Lewis Washington for basic and AIT, and went to jump school. Initially went into aircraft maintenance, and after I got enlisted, they said that the test I took in school didn't count, so I had to do something different. Want to know what I wanted to do, so I went airborne, and they said, well, sign right here. And what else you want to do? I said, I want to do special forces. So went through that, but went to the Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Never made it through there, and supposed to go to Germany for 2 years, and I didn't want to go to Germany, too cold. So, yeah. So I volunteered for Vietnam, went over there and landed in Cambodia, or not Cambodia, Cam Ranh Bay there. There for a week, and one day there was about 15 to 20 of us. They said, all right, all you guys come on out. And they took us out in the field. There's 3 guys, they had their M16s and stuff, and the rest of us didn't have any weapons. They took us out 2 or 3 miles out, and we were all wondering, where we're going. And, all of a sudden, somebody started shooting at us. It was an AK-47. Man, I mean, we all just kind of scattered because we're out in the open, and I decided I was going to follow a guy with a gun and get behind him. But that was a lesson, they said, so that you would know what an AK-47 sounded like. And it was one that stuck in your mind pretty good. And then they were sending us to different units and things, and they needed 3 volunteers for the Ranger unit. So I raised my hand and got picked for that. So I was with the 75th Ranger unit, attached to the 173rd Airborne Brigade. I spent my time with them. Got home in August of 71, and got out for about 3 years and went to National Guard and was with them in Ottumwa for a couple of years, and transferred from there to the Oskaloosa unit, and then from there to the Knoxville unit. And in 91 we got called up for Desert Storm, so we went out to National Training Center, there's Desert Storm, and spent like 6-7 months out there fixing tanks, and well, we were wheeled maintenance unit to start with. 2 or 3 weeks before we got activated, why they changed our MOS to tanks, M1 and the Bradleys. So we had about 12, 15 people that did a crash course on that to learn how to work on them. Out at Desert Storm, or out to the National Training Center in California, and worked on vehicles, tanks and stuff the whole time for about 7 months. And when that was over with, we came home and that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've got about 10 minutes before 11 o'clock and we do the 21 gun salute. So next I want to bring up the ladies with the quilts. I left my note up here. I don't remember where I put it. Imagine that.
Take a look. Be a little piece of paper. There it is.
So this year the quilts were provided, I think there's 8 total, correct, Sandra? So the ladies that made these quilts for us today, we're going to do a drawing here real quick and get them given away. So the ladies that made the quilts are Sandra Herrick, Joyce Webb, Sandy Fell, Donna Rippey, Cindy Paulson, Judith Kruger, and Sharon Stouffer. Did I get everybody's name right?
Yes.
That's amazing. And also, some of you bought raffle tickets for the wreaths. Those were made by the Junior Auxiliary here at Post 34.
They didn't buy them. This is donated.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still learning. So who's going to be a spokesman for the quilts? Sandra?
I would like the other ladies to come up here too, please. We have one lady's veteran quilt for the first time. We'll draw that one last. We'll let the men go first this time. And we want to thank you all for your service. This is the only way we know to thank each and every one of the veterans. I'm going to draw the number. Seven, 4, 9, 8, 1, 8. You please come forward, please.
We can wrap it up around you.
Whose quilt is this, ladies? Sharon. Sharon. Come over with the quilt. It's beautiful. Nope. Turn it. There you go.
Sharon, would you tell what kind of pattern this is and who quilted it?
Well, it's a printed panel, and these are lemonade stars, and I quilted it. And I hope you enjoy using it as much as I enjoyed making
Cindy.
There you go, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it upside down? Oh, no. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so ticket 749811. Well, that's a lucky spot on the table.
This was made by Cindy Paulson.
I will. Okay. What's your first name?
Rick.
Rick?
Well, Rick, it's a good day to think about a quilt on a day like today, and congratulations for winning. I found this center panel here at New Hope Thrift Store, and I thought that would be great to make a veteran's quilt, but it's too small. So I got out all of my red, white, and blue scraps at home out of my fabric stash, and I cut them all down into long strips and sewed the strips together in any pattern, whatever I grabbed, I just sewed together. And then I cut it down into 6-inch blocks and turned them on end and sewed them back together to make a bigger 12-inch block. And then I joined that all around the edges, and I did a little bit of stitching around the eagle's beak and eyes and the stars, and just wanted to make it stand out a little bit better. So thank you very much for your service, and I'm glad you won it. You're very welcome. I would like to get a picture with you though.
A selfie. Okay, we're going to get a selfie right now.
Okay.
Can you hold that up so we can see that? Yes, please. Do you want me to take it? Which way does it go here? Okay.
Oh, you know I will.
Thank you.
Which one of you ladies made this quilt?
I did.
Okay, so ticket 749-839. 749-8939. They may be outside. So we'll hold that ticket with that one and I'll call again, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the number?
Yeah, 749-839. That's Big John.
This one was made by Judith Webb.
Joyce
Webb, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Okay, John, this is disappearing pinwheel churn dash that I picked for this, and with the red and white. Quilted Treasures and Retreats, and Eddie Bill quilted it for me, and I was just really glad to make it for you.
Thank you.
So at this time, with nearing to the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, we will do our veteran salute.
Thank you.
And up, prepare to fire. Ready, bang! Ready, bang!
Okay, you may be seated. All right, Santa, we'll continue on with the quilt giveaways. Okay, so ticket 749816. I'll bet they're outside. 749816. Yep. Hi. All right. I'm going to get chapter one way or another. Well, that was my whole point.
Joe, I'm glad to have you win my quilt.
Thank you.
I just started cutting strips and trying to figure out which side I go or how, and I just threw it together. Quilted Treasures, which is Donna over here at the other side, has quilted many quilts for us, for the veterans, and she quilted this one.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. Thank you.
Get this one.
How many hours does it take to make one of these quilts? I know because my mom does. But
Do you want to know? It's days.
days, not hours. Okay.
How about weeks or months sometimes?
Weeks, months, yeah.
Or a month or two.
So there's a lot of work and effort that goes into these. So the next ticket is 749813. 749813.
This was done by Sharon Stoker, and you can tell him about your quilt.
This quilt was a panel that had these designs on it. And so I have a design wall at home where I put things before I sew them together, deciding where I thought they should go. And I don't know, I just stand there and look at it, and I see the different patterns and designs, and then I just put it together. And I think the veteran quilts for me is the most pleasurable because my father was in the Navy, my husband was in the Navy, and I'm glad a sailor's got this.
Whose quilt is this? Nobody gonna own it?
Sandy, where'd she go?
Oh, that's Sandy Phelps.
Nope, she said no.
Sandy
There's a
Phelps?
tag on it.
Here.
Who did? Bev Versteeg.
Bev Versteeg.
And Bev isn't here today.
Okay, Bev, okay. So the lucky winner of this one is 749807. I'm gonna guess it's that table here again. I told you this table.
Does it say on the label?
No, it says pieced and quilted by Bev Versteeg, 2019. Thank you for your service.
Cheese.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Ma'am. Ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Okay. Thank you. Got a name on this one?
Me, Judith Kruger.
Oh, Judith Kruger.
You can tell about it.
This was some of the patterns cost a bunch of money. This one cost $2 on a postcard at Donna's for the totally different color range, but I looked at it and said, that's a red, white, and blue quilt. And so I put the front together. Donna quilted it at Quilted Treasure Retreats, and I ran up against the time limit, and Donna bound it for me. So, my father was World War II, and today's his birthday. So I'm sorry. And my husband was National Guard during Vietnam, so we have a family history of military service. But
Very nice.
So if you have ticket 749819. Oh, Jason Reed.
Sharon?
Is this the...
This is the ladies.
This is the ladies' quilt.
Sharon.
Now you gonna guarantee that one of the women win?
We fixed it.
Wait a minute now.
We fixed it.
Okay, ladies. Are we taking Ben 2-1?
I'm gonna guess Brenda.
Me, Brandy?
Brandy, yeah, sorry.
So the last three, 812.
What we did with the ladies' quilt, we put it in a separate bucket. Oh, this is her third quilt that she's quilted.
Oh, this is your third quilt you pulled in.
And give away to that.
Well, we thank you, ladies, very, very much.
this quilt, when I found this panel, I really liked the panel, and I thought this has got to go to a lady. So I finished it off with the flowers, and I tell you, I'm envious of you. When I was in high school, I wanted to join the Navy. And my two best girlfriends joined the Navy, but I was physically not able due to circumstances beyond my control. So I've always had a soft spot in my heart for women veterans. And I'm glad you got this.
Well, thank you, ladies, very much. We as veterans truly appreciate the honor of you donating quilts to our veterans. Can we give all the ladies a good hand? So next
He's going to take pictures.
So next there's what? 3 wreaths to give, 4 giveaway? All right, I'm gonna draw one, then you draw the next one, Kurt. Okay. If you have ticket 447929. 447929. Aha! Hey, you better go buy a lottery ticket today. So the junior auxiliary over the past couple months have been making these wreaths just for today, and they want to donate to our veterans.
Is this one have to put a Christmas tree up now?
No, that's cool.
This could be the
Maybe
Christmas
it'll
tree.
make it twice up.
We want to get your picture.
Yep. Dave wants to take a picture. Let's sure.
Trying to get in here.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm in the picture.
You're in the middle.
You're in the middle.
I'm gonna cover my face up next time. All right, 447-948. Mr. Manhattan County Veterans Affairs. I'm getting out of this picture.
Now you gotta decorate. We have a tree. I think I know where this is. Thank you.
Hang on, Kurt, come right back here. We'll let you grow. Yep.
926.
Last three is 926. All right. Come on up. Get your picture here, Wilson.
Get the picture there. Get the picture. This will be a little scrap up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a nice one.
Before you take off, you don't want to have you draw. Let's be for the last one. Last three is 970. Last, well, I'll tell you, this is the lucky table right here. Thank you, sir. We'll get your picture. Again, as your post commander for Post 34 here, I want to say thank you, everyone, for coming out today, especially since the weather's not very nice and cooperating. So today's meal is sponsored by Manhattan County Veterans Affairs. So what we'll do here is we'll dismiss. I'm not going to dismiss my table. We're all grown adults. We can hopefully go orderly.
Send the flag back first.
So what we'll do next is we'll retrieve the colors and then we'll start our meal after that. Also, at 1 o'clock today, the high school will have a program. So I'll have Joe Crook and give closing prayer real quick. Everybody dry?
Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you and those who gather here today to recognize your grace and power in giving us the victories over those who choose to oppose this great country. Be with us as we return to our homes. Keep us safe. Please bless our continuing work to serve our God, our country, and our community. Help us to give thanks to those who, through their work of preparing meals, getting this hall ready, and special thanks to those who prepared gifts, watch over those who serve today, and give our country leadership, knowledge, and wisdom in the coming decision that lay before them. In our Creator's, Savior's, and Sustainer''s name, amen.
Retrieve the colors. Present arms. Order arms. Left face. Forward march.
You may be seated. I'd also like to thank everybody in the kitchen for preparing the food today. For those of you who don't know me, but I'm no cook, although I do like to eat. But I want to say thank you to Christy, Kim, Steve, and Randy, and Kathy for all that they've done to help for today's meal. So, and I know there's probably more in there that I just can't see, but I know there's a lot of people that help. So, to make this place run, it will take a big volunteer effort. So with that, in closing, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you all veterans today for your service, and thank you that are serving now abroad for us. We do have several members of our post that are actively serving in a current combat zone. So I just want to say thank you, and keep those men and women in your thoughts and prayers as we enjoy the fellowship here today. With that, let's eat.